Okay, so I believe this is recording. Excellent. So it may be foolish for me to be recording this video before I've actually paid or submitted my request, but I'm recording it now. Uh, Even before I've paid. I don't even know if I'll ever be able to afford formal typing, but hey, I might as well make the video because hey, why not? It's on my mind. And yeah, I don't know how long it's going to be between when I make this and when I give it to you. I'm going to try to be. I actually have tried not to overplan this too much. I figure, paradoxically, the more off I am and the more flustered I am and the less planned this is, the more likely it is that you'll naturally see something that will help you in your attempts to type me. So, hello, Dave. Hello, Shannon. Hello, whoever else might ever see this. Um, I am Mary, and I'm going to try to get into the questions on this list for video typing. What is your average day or week like? Oh boy. Well, yeah. This is kind of pathetic. It's very difficult for me to talk about myself in detail without getting into the negative stuff. But um, so average day or week over the last few months is wake up late-ish, maybe 11:15. I work for Instacart, which is a company that travels around delivering people's groceries. Drive from the HEB or the Whole Foods or whatever. Maybe shop there, maybe pick up stuff that other people have shopped, and then drive it from there to the customers. Sort of like Lyft or Uber, but for groceries instead of human beings, which is good because if I get in a car accident, only food perishes, not people. So, yeah, that would be good. It's very good for people to not die. People dying is not fun at all. No, it is not. Um, but yeah, so that's my job with that bit of context. So my schedule is very loosely structured. Basically, my shift is technically just the period of time in which they can start sort of pinging my phone with assignments. So it's a job where it's basically impossible to be late for work, which is good news because my sleep schedule is highly erratic. I sort of might become conscious at 11:15, get my phone out, do stuff on it, and I might actually get out of bed and get dressed at like 45 minutes to an hour later. It's kind of pathetic. Yeah, that I'm going to be talking. I've I have many severe personality flaws that will probably become clear, and I feel sort of I could stop to apologize for them, but I don't know why I'd be doing it. I just feel that that's something that deserves to be apologized for. It's just I don't know. Well, you are watching this, and if you are watching this, it's highly likely that I paid you to do so. So I might as well keep going. But yeah. So I would get up a little bit too late. Sometimes it takes a while for the first batch to come in, so I still have time to eat breakfast, brush my teeth, and shave and all those things. Sometimes I get out of bed because I get pinged something, in which case I need to basically dash out the door. I'm usually on my shift for about 9 hours. Um, and there's going to be a great deal of driving, shopping for things, loading and unloading my car, with many various logistical difficulties. If driving conditions are tense, I might have a small panic attack. If I cannot find something in the store that I'm looking for, I might have a panic attack and a psychological meltdown because I have those at the drop of a hat. And it's truly pathetic. It is truly pathetic. But that's how it is. I so I make it through the day. sometimes I'm not. Sometimes things go fine. Sometimes, though, I'll wind up in a negative headspace. Whatever the case, when I get off, usually get dinner. I eat out at places I can sort of afford. I don't do my own cooking, which is extremely stupid of me considering that I don't actually earn enough to justify that, but I've never really. I mean, I think a year ago I actually did my own cooking some of the time. And since then I switched apartments and never felt like getting out or looking for the old kitchenware. I don't even know what I have to cook with or what I would cook if I did so. I don't cook. And, um, oh, well, the good news is I'm not running out of time yet. Apparently, there's a timer up top. That's wonderful. It's good to be able to keep track of how long you're doing things, and it looks like I've still got time to talk about the day, which is good because there's still much of the day to go. Sort of. Um, so, yeah, often I do not do my own cooking, which is kind of pathetic because whenever I talk to people about, what's stressing me out or what's causing me problems, I will often talk about my, financial situation. It's difficult to, you know, Instacart being like Uber does not actually give very stable income. It's commission based and tip based, and so one week I might make 550, the next week I'll make 400, and it's not good not being able to know that stuff in advance. It's not good at all. But and so sometimes people hear that and they're like, "Well, apply to a job." And I guess I'll get to the stuff with that later in number four when I talk about the biggest challenge in my life right now and pretty much the entire history of my life. Um, I guess that's the time to go into exactly why I have such trouble doing things. I have trouble doing things. There's a severe procrastination problem, there's a severe couch potato problem, there's a sort of reluctance to, okay, at this point, I'm gonna be I'm gonna become crazy self-conscious because I'm actually gonna use terms that pop up in your system, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, she's peacocking. How dare she?" But it's very difficult for me to talk about, my life without using while restricting my vocabulary. I don't like spending energy. I don't like doing things, which is I know it's very yeah, it's see there's a bit of a paradox here um because I on one hand my desire to complain is very very strong. On the other hand, I know that, well, all of the problems in my life are pretty much completely my fault, so I'm not really entitled to anyone else's sympathy, but I talk to them anyway as if I did deserve sympathy. It's weird and contradictory and paradoxical. I know I don't deserve sympathy and that I don't deserve help, but I kind of want it anyway because I'm human and humans are like that. Uh, oh look, I'm tearing up. How about that? We're only at the 8 minute mark. I haven't even gotten to question number four about the biggest challenge of my life right now. Oh, that's gonna be delightful. Oh, I love this. I absolutely love this. Um, so rest of the evening. Um, so earlier this week specifically, I tried breaking my old habit, and then I had for the first night I got it, and I was like, woohoo, I got it. Next morning I got it, getting stuff out of the way early, and then I had have not. Then I just completely dropped the ball every other night, and I'm wondering if it's dead. And I guess that's something to talk to my therapist about in 2 days. Just why when I try to set a new habit, something doesn't work. Actually, this is something funny. Um, it has nothing to do with type specifically, but you do talk a little bit about fixed mindset, which is something I'm very familiar with, although I'm familiar with it by the name learned helplessness. Honestly, if I uh, could pay money in order to be cured of my fixed mindset, it would probably be much better for me to pay for that than typing. That would probably be much more helpful. But unfortunately, that is very difficult to fix. I'm trying to fix it. Maybe I will someday. It takes a while. It takes it takes a while, and shit. What are you doing, Mary? You've only just started talking. You've still got so much to go. Um, uh, so yeah, remainder of my time, uh, some of it will be spent on the internet, sometimes on YouTube, sometimes on Reddit, this, that. Not with any particular rhyme or reason, honestly, just me trying to distract myself from as long as I can. I don't know what I'm distracting myself for. I don't know why I'm going down the rabbit holes I'm going down. Uh, I, um, and you'd think under these circumstances I'd be likely to go to bed early, but it's not the case. It's almost like I procrastinate going to bed too, which is amazing. No wonder my life fell apart. No wonder I've been fired from so many different... See, I, I like help and I appreciate you doing this. Thank you for doing this anyway. I hope you do, in fact, do it and don't get disgusted by the video. Uh, I'll be honest, I feel like these are not problems that a decent human being would have. Like, these are... Like, it's... Like, there's being unproductive and ineffective, and then there's being unproductive and ineffective and complaining about it, and I can't seem to stop complaining about things. Like, it's very hard for me to not share negative thoughts that I have. But that just means I keep digging the hole I'm in and asking other people to throw in more and more rope without actually pulling myself up. So, I'll be honest, I'm kind of parasitic. My life is parasitic. I guess there's some good stuff I do in the week. Often, got 2 days off. There's Tuesdays and Sundays. Sundays, I socialize either with family or with friends and go to church, except today I didn't do that. Just was having an emotional meltdown. Honestly, an emotional meltdown because after reading some of these questions, I was obsessed about them for a few hours because it's hard for me to, if I get my mind onto a topic, I can't pull myself back out. It's kind of strange. How about that? On Tuesdays, I see the therapist. Other than that, those days are just open. Sometimes I actually take the time and try to do something with it. Sometimes not. If I ever do something worthwhile, it might involve some amount of journaling or writing, but not often publishable stuff, more like diary crap. Because that's what I'm able to do. It's what comes to mind. Even if it contributes nothing to the rest of the world, it's what comes to mind. It's what I can think of writing. Just taking everything that goes in on here, just type it, get it out of my head, into the computer, then it's in the computer, and in my head. Fun. Just so for posterity's sake, if I ever do die and someone finds my computer, they can go through it and be like, oh, that's how fucked up she was. Wow, she was really fucked up. Yeah. Oh shit, I'm at the 15-minute mark and I've only tackled the first fucking question. Okay. What is one of the best times in life you've ever had? Well, when I saw about that, I had to think for a bit because I'm trying to figure out, like, the exact interval of time we're talking about. Are we talking like a good evening, a good week, a good year? So I thought about it in the broadest possible terms, and I guess high school wasn't bad. Actually, I think the main reason I liked high school, in my specific case, with my specific high school, I went to a private school, is that it was a period where I grew a lot. I have a lot of bad habits now, but there are some bad habits have I had much more badly as a kid than I do now. Some have been just as bad the entire way up, but high school was where I learned to actually trust some human beings and realize that I could be friends with some people, um and it's that was the best part. The other part is that that's where I really developed my mind. Like I said, it was private school, and I had a bit of a non-standard curriculum. Like, freaking every humanities class was like a debate. Our freshman year of physics, my teacher spent the first week and a half teaching about like the freaking philosophy of science, which I don't think many science teachers would do. Just going over not just the scientific method, but just the basic eternal pattern of hypothesis and fact and experiment and revision and the throwing out of old theories and the generation of new ones. And it was a fascinating topic, and I think that that particular piece of that particular class has stuck with me the rest of my life, just because, well, you know, they're facts, and then we generate theories to explain them. Then we base hypotheses off the theories, test the hypotheses. If they fail, change the theory. That's just the model, not only of science, but of so much of the way human beings think, which is really cool. And actually, it's kind of like the way that you talk about sort of sensing and intuition within your own terminology. There's a clear parallel between that and the way my physics teacher in high school talked about fact and theory, with intuition being a conceptual framework, uh, or, well, theory, and fact being fact, isolated, specific incident. Now, the funny thing is, recently it occurred to me that because of the way just like freaking human neurons work, um, the the in a sense, facts or physical experiences would also be clouds. They would also be concepts in the sense that they'd be based of several connections. There's no specific point or block in your brain that is, say, what a toothbrush looks like. There's instead this sort of cloud to this color and the general shape of a stick and the general shape of a brush, which all like flows together in a very cloudy, fluffy way and into a concept that's very concrete, the toothbrush. But whatever, that's for another time. I'll talk about, the way I understand the human mind some other day, when I actually do understand the human mind more. But yeah, if I ever make other videos on this channel, maybe it'll be about that. That was a fun thing to think about. So that was a great time in physics. Okay, I know we're not supposed to get too meta to talk and like actually officially within the context of science. I find it so much easier to work with theories than with facts, just because I know you're not supposed to type myself in that implicit way to leave what I'm doing. It's just it's a thing that sort of pops out at me, is that generally speaking, like, going heavily into a concept and elaborating on it and just making sure you understand it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper is so fun that when you actually one day conduct an experiment and it turns out that the theory didn't work, it's like, oh, great. I mean, like, it's a necessary part of learning and a necessary part not just of the cycle of science, but in terms of, human thought in general. It's necessary. It's like eating your vegetables, except that I actually do love vegetables, but you get it with the childhood metaphor. It's the unpleasant necessity of figuring life out. But that's just, yeah. I don't know if I talked enough about number two, but we're about 20 minutes in. I should probably move to the next question. What was one of the worst times in life you've ever had. This is amusing because remember how negative and how down I got and how I went on the first question? Well, now we're in a question that okay, right after I graduated college when I moved back in with my parents. Um okay, I don't know if they're ever going to see this. My relationship with them is actually pretty good now. So, and they're not monsters, they're not horrible people. They're normal people, just people, but they made mistakes and I made mistakes and just okay. I thought I was going to go to grad school, except when I actually did like summer research programs, we're going back to the hypothesis theory fact thing. I found that I actually got into the upper levels of science where I couldn't get the concept right away, it was humiliating. It wasn't that I like decided not to go to grad school because it was a blow to the ego, but because apparently in grad school, of what I understand, the workload is heavier, and it's you need to be better at planning your time. So my natural problems with discipline and procrastination and all that stuff were gonna get a lot scarier in grad school. So I either had to beat them or drown. And apparently the only way to really beat something in grad school, to really white knuckle through all that work on your tiny stipend with the debts you'll have later for that many years, is to really love your subject. And when I got past the figuring out stuff, getting cute light bulb moments thing, and got into the actual research part of physics, I was like, wait, I don't actually love this anymore. Which means, and if I don't love this anymore, then trying to survive through a few years of hell, buoyed up by my love of the subject, that's not going to work if I don't love the subject, if I just don't. Like, I was filling out grad school application essays senior year of college. They are all like, why do you want to go to grad school? And in each case, the answer was, I don't. But it's not like I have any other plans after graduate. How can I phrase I don't in a way that would make it not a terrible application essay? Turns out that doesn't work. I had to lie. But whatever the case, I actually did get into a few places. I didn't go because the thought of going made me suicidal. So, Mom and Dad were a bit disappointed. Came back home to live with them. Uh, and, uh, well, no, but come on, not now, there's so much to go. They, they both got, uh, very bitter, very resentful, very negative. Hey, and like I tried to apply for jobs, tried to get out of the house, tried to fly, tried to work on my skills as a writer, tried to do this, tried to do that. But I'm gonna talk about this soon. I have huge problems getting things done, and that was worsened by the fact that, well, work ethic is something that my parents care very deeply about, and my dad, and especially my mom, this hasn't been the case for like a year since she like saw me in the mental hospital. Maybe that changed something. Maybe something changed when her own mom died, but mom had pretty severe anger issues. You can't live in an environment like that, well, wouldn't living in an environment like that make you want to move out even more? So wouldn't that improve your ability to get good jobs and move out? And I did eventually do that, by the way, just not for a while. And we're talking about the bad part. Um, See, the thing is, like, heavy stress, heavy feedback, it makes me just shut down. And that's what I'm going to be talking about on question number 4. But my dad, you shouldn't type other people, but if I can type anyone in the world, I can type my dad. He's a fairly unhealthy IJ. He and everyone thinks their dad is an IJ. It's just that, like, we're talking about a man who will come up behind someone and grab them and, like, move them in order to try to rebalance them because he just thinks their posture would look better a different way. Uh, just freaky stuff. Um, we're talking about a man who micromanages other people to an extent that they can barely breathe. We're talking about a man who, when I was applying to college, to like grad schools, literally stood over my shoulder one time and was like, "Why aren't your fingers moving? Why aren't you typing words right now?" And I was trying to think of what to say, and I couldn't think of what to say with him standing right behind me. And okay, ever seen the movie Whiplash? Okay, remember J.K. Simmons' character? Mom's not that, but at her angriest, she's like 80% of that. Never threw a chair at me. Used a very similar volume, though, when speaking to me sometimes. Nearly every day. The entire time I was growing up. And very much when I lived with them after college. We're talking about a woman who asked her daughter, "What are you doing to justify your existence?" like on a once per week basis throughout my entire childhood. Um, oh, biggest challenge in your life. Oh, that's gonna be fun. So, um, the relationship has gotten better since then. But I'd say that conflict with my mom and dad has been a very big problem in my life. But at the root of that, honestly, goes my work ethic. I have an extremely hard time getting things done. It's just, you put me in front of a task, and either it'll be, "Oh, I know how to do that. It's so easy, I can do that later." Or it'll be, "Oh, I don't know how to do that." And a normal person would be like, "I don't know how to do that. Okay, I'll go learn." Or I'll go just try doing it until I figure it out. And I'm like, "I don't know how to do that. Oh my god. Oh my god, I don't know how to do that." Like, I just turn off. Like, the part of my brain that does things turns off when I'm faced with something I don't know how to do, even extremely basic tasks, uh, which has, of course, been a problem at basically every job I've ever had, and a very serious one. You, I mean, and sometimes I think this is closely tied to something called complex post-traumatic stress disorder, like PTSD, but when trauma is repeated a large number of times. I was diagnosed with ADD as a kid. Don't know if that's relevant, but whatever the case, uh, one of the things that does is that when you are, like, triggered according to the real definition of trigger, and like your condition sort of kicks in or throws up a memory at you, or like sends you into an emotional flashback, you basically get overridden with one of the 4 F's, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Not many people have heard of the last two, but they are other responses to stress. There's fight, there's flight, everyone's heard of those. There's also freeze, the deer in the headlights one. That's my default response. And it is a pretty shit response to have to stress. Like most people, like normal people, put them in a stressful do or die situation, put them in a do or die situation, and they will do. Put me in a do or die situation, I will die every time. Uh, uh, yeah. Isn't that lovely? No, it's not lovely. You probably don't even believe me because this is just not something normal people do, but, like, stress just makes me shut down. It makes it even harder to do things. Basic work assignments, just staying on task, doing chores, writing. I used to really want to be a writer. I guess I'll get more into that in number 5, which is going to be almost insufferably cutesy because it's so unrealistic and I don't deserve any of those things because I haven't actually done anything to earn them. I used to want to be a writer. I could not keep up the daily habit needed to make it as a writer. And I realized, well, I'm not very good at forming new habits. I'm probably not going to get it. I'm just not meant to be a writer. Very few people are. Now, of course, that's a learned helplessness, fixed mindset deal, so maybe if I can, beat that, then I can come back and actually maybe do it, which would be wonderful, which would be really, really nice if I could do that, but for now, yeah, and some people just have problems, I don't know, with executive function. When you put stuff in front of me, half of it is I don't know how to do it. Then there's a little bit of I don't want to do it. It looks like too much work. Then there's a little bit of if I do it and I do it wrong, people will be mad at me. I've been in therapy for years with various therapists, and I've come to the conclusion that there's no skeleton key. There's no one single answer or piece of advice that's going to solve this problem because it's like several different closely related problems all wrapped together. Like the part of my brain that can do this is locked shut, off limits to me, and fiddling around with trying to find the right key, but there's 8 different locks, all with different keys. And I pull out the key ring and I'm like, oh shit, where the hell are the keys? They're not here. So, I don't know what it is, if it's a lack of discipline or if I just get too nervous. It's difficult for me to just one of the things that sets me off sometimes on the job is just whenever I'm in a spot where I'm really incompetent on something really basic and really simple, I basically do what I'm doing right now. It's not necessarily hard for me to go into detail about what's wrong with me because, I'm very, very familiar. Well, I'm not actually not. I can't get a clear picture of what's wrong with me, but I know that something's wrong with me, and just the kind of train of thought that I'm sharing with you right now about what is wrong with me basically goes on and on in a perpetual inner monologue. And sometimes certain kinds of mistake can sort of suck me out of the real world in here, right into the middle of the monologue, and then I can't get back out of my mind and into reality. I shut down. I freeze. I get paralyzed. I can't do. Okay, well, that was actually interesting. That was not forced. That was just a thing. Sometimes this actually became more severe the last few years. Sometimes I do stutter. Like, there's, it's not just a shrinking of willpower. Whatever that block is, like, if I push hard, it pushes back, and if it pushes hard enough, it, like, screws up my basic physical motor functions, like my speech, my bodily movements. There have been some days when I literally could not get out of bed, which might just have been depression, but it was like I would like twitch and be like, I need to get out of bed, but how do I move my arms? Like, just weird shit like that. So, and then, like, really severe panic attacks or emotional flashbacks or whatever you would call this thing that's going on right here, it gets pretty severe. 5. Okay, try to talk about happy stuff, completely unrealistic stuff. Completely unrealistic. Not the kind of life I wish I could have, but worry I cannot. What would my ideal look like 10 years from now? I would like to have written. I would like to, write on a near daily basis. Some fiction, some nonfiction, whatever. I would like, whether it's some philosophy, some theology, I've had a lot of very deep, hard-hitting insights into the nature of God in the last few years, and I'd like to talk about them and share them with people in a way that might inspire them as much as it inspired me. And I know I'm getting sappy, but that's, sometimes you want to get sappy. Sometimes sappiness is merited. I'd like to write something profound. This I know I sound insufferable right now. I know I sound absolutely insufferable because you're going to be sitting there going like, well, why the hell aren't you writing anything? Which is a very, very valid complaint, and I probably should not be talking about this, but that's the question. And I'm like, okay, if I were able to get this shit figured out, maybe that's what would be fun to do, or good, or to do, or rewarding to do. I'd like to actually be able to get the ideas and concepts in my brain and get them out into the world. Less scientific, obviously, because I did not actually go down that route, but maybe philosophical. I really love philosophy. I haven't actually read nearly as much of the major philosophers as I should have, but I don't know. You can't spend this much time in your head without finding at least something really cool and good. Like, it's a prison on some days and it's a playground on other days. Whatever the case, it's where I live. It's where I can't get out of. Sometimes, sometimes it's a prison, sometimes it's a playground. But it's really good when it's a playground, and I like being able to, give to other people. Sometimes I actually can give or spout things, and it's so fun when I'm able to do that, and almost surprising, like, oh my god, I'm actually doing this. Oh crap, I just single-handedly tied myself off of that comment, didn't I? But whatever. Whatever I get is whatever I get. And other stuff I'd like within the next 10 years. I'd like my faith life to be strong. I'd like to be actively involved in a Christian community, a parish. Maybe as a priest or priestess, I wouldn't know because that's a lot of work, but maybe. And I'd like to be married. My odds of marriage are very poor. So like you talked about in your video on marriage, like a lot of the stuff is self-evident, but the one that was really self-evident to me, number 3, marriage is not going to work if one of you is coming from a place of need. Like, you can't get into a relationship to rescue the other person or to be rescued. I know, because I tried that on my last relationship. It was a mess. And I know that I'm naturally drawn to people at this general level of dysfunction. Dysfunctional people are drawn to other dysfunctional people. It's just an unfortunate way our minds work. So I got to push back against that, and I got to be careful and discerning when I am out there. And as you can tell, I'm transgender. And I'm also a pretty religious transgender person. And I'm gay. And when you put all those things together, gay as in, lesbian, I'm into women. But when you put all those things together, finding someone who's willing to date a gay transgender intensive Christian, that's a small section of the population. I'm already 26. The market's the dating pool is gonna shrink as I get older. And, well, the thing that's most important to have is holiness. Like, I want someone who brings me closer to God, and I bring her closer to God, and we can do that together. Doesn't necessarily mean faith or piety. She might not necessarily be a Christian. I want her to be holy in the sense that she's loving and kind and patient and all those things. I'm looking for someone with a really good heart, and people like that are very rare and very hard to find. So it's picky, but if I miraculously can find someone who's attracted to me and shares my faith and has a very good heart and has a lot of common interests and a lot of interesting differences, that would be really nice. That would be really, really, really nice if I could get that to happen. But I guess means I gotta go meet people. That's the tough part. And I'd try meet someone. I'd like to be financially stable.